Wind screamed through the open ramp as the Ki-130 bucked, her tail pitched toward a bruised horizon. The anti-collision strobes pulsed across the storm-shredded clouds, painting the cargo bay in blood-red flashes that made men's faces look freshly wounded. Paratroopers swayed in their seats like rag dolls, combat boots drumming an anxious tattoo against the deck. Cassidy Hawthorne's gloved fingertips curled around a tie-down strap, reading the aircraft's tremors the way a doctor feels a pulse. Every jolt wrote a new line of risk across her mind, but her expression pale, fine-boned, unreadable, never changed. "Hold tight, cargo girl." Colonel Braxton roared over the engine howl, voice cracking through the intercom. To him, the call sign was a joke. To Cassidy, it was a promise she'd one day break in front of him. She adjusted her headset, mic, and spoke low enough that her voice vanished beneath the gale ripping through the fuselage. 70-knot crosswind. If we don't angle south. Now the drop zone turns into a quarry. Braxton ignored her again. He gripped the jump master rail like a throne, broad shoulders rolling with swagger. 40 combat jumps had earned him silver wings and a permanent smirk, but the weather didn't care about ribbons. Beyond the ramp, lightning stitched the horizon, close enough to illuminate the whitecaps on a river that should have been 20 miles away. Wind shear, Cassidy logged mentally. Terrain funneling. Probability of vortex, rising. She exhaled through her nose, steady, controlled. Her father's mantra flowed with the breath. Slow is smooth. Smooth is silent. Silent is survival. He'd whispered it on sniper ranges, correcting her grip on a .308 when she'd been 10. Her mother, an ashen-haired medic who'd reset more dislocated shoulders than most. Surgeons taught the same cadence with stitches and tourniquets. Those legacies lived in Cassidy's hands now, tightening buckles, scanning eyes, counting. Seconds between lightning bursts. The ramp vibrated beneath her boots as the aircraft descended to 9,000 feet. Static lines jerked overhead in a tangled forest of beige webbing. 20 men, each hauling 80 pounds, trusted those ropes with their spines. She'd inspected every rig twice, then a third time when no one watched. One frayed pin. One misthreaded grommet. One distracted colonel. Disaster only needed a crack. 10 hours earlier, dawn had peeled a layer of silver from the Mojave Mountains that fenced Phase Echo, the joint training compound whose asphalt runways baked dreams into mirages. Cassidy had woken before reveille, pacing the locker aisle with a toothbrush clamped between her teeth while she recalibrated the Loadmaster tablet. Her tablet, not the quartermaster's, because she'd rewritten the checklist code herself. After discovering the factory software miscalculated density altitude above 7,000 feet. No one cared. They just liked how fast she signed forms. She'd stood 5'7" in wrestling shoes, hair coiled in a tight cinnamon bun, sleeves rolled up past slender forearms peppered with freckles. Silence clothed her the way body armor wrapped. Others, people mistaken for background noises, seldom draw fire until they choose to speak. She watched recruits fumble with parachute harnesses, offering quiet corrections. Flatten that twist. Anchor that drag line. Thumb length here. Her voice lived in the ears of those willing to listen, never in the colonel's. Mid-morning, the briefing room smelled of burnt coffee and marker ink. Braxton swaggered at the front, laser pointer carving big red arrows across a weather map dotted with barely visible storm cells. Timeline stays the same. Ramp open at 1800, jump at 1900 sharp. Trust the forecast. His eyes brushed over Cassidy like she was part of the projector stand. She raised one hand anyway. Sir, updated satellite. Loop shows a low-level trough, compressing the desert heat bubble. Could force convective buildup over the river bend. The colonel grinned for the room. Cargo girl reads clouds like tea leaves. Appreciate the color commentary, Hawthorne, but intel's clear. Laughter around the table. She sat back, pulse flat, marking the precise moment arrogance overtook caution. Outside, she shared a bench with Staff Sergeant Morales, a mountain of calm with busted knuckles and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He'd fought for every chevron on his sleeve and respected anyone who fought for their silence. "You good, Cass?" he asked, stripping electrical tape from a row of carabiners. "Thought patterns good," she said. "But the air's whispering. Different." Merrills nodded, slipped her a protein bar, and said nothing more. The compound thrummed. Forklifts groaned, jet fuel burned, radios crackled. Cassidy moved like mercury between pallets, verifying weight distribution, scribbling center of gravity. Shifts in chalk. She cleaned the altimeter that would hang by the ramp, then double-checked emergency oxygen packs, because other people's lungs mattered. When thunderheads crouched on the afternoon horizon, she swallowed a warning no point repeating herself and focused on what she could still control: tie-downs, manifests, men's morale. She met each soldier's eyes as they boarded, offering nods tailored to their nerves. Steady for the rookies, sharp for the veterans, warm for the medic who hid shaking hands. The engines thundered to life. Her headset crackled with load calculations she'd memorized hours ago. Now, just below the storm belly, the colonel's plan unraveled. Prop wash buffeted the ramp so hard the static lines thrummed like guitar strings. A paratrooper vomited into his chem bag. Merrills caught Cassidy's gaze. Silent check, silent confirmation. They would keep these men alive despite the badge. On Braxton's chest, the colonel slapped the red handle switch, deploying the green light too early. Turbulence shoved half the squad forward. The other half lurched back. Cassidy planted herself between the rows, voice like tempered steel. "Belts stay clipped until I say. Colonel, we need a 2-mile dogleg approach." "Not your call, Hawthorne," he snapped, but uncertainty clouded his eyes. He'd never flown into a microburst. She had twice, as civilian jumpmaster. For wildfire teams dropped onto Colorado cliffs. Engine 2 coughed a shudder beneath their feet, then stabilized. Sweat ran down Braxton's jaw. Cassidy's situational map rotated in her mind. Crosswind vectors, stall margins, chute drift. Fatality rates. Probability told a story arrogance refused to read. Lightning struck 500 meters off the starboard wing. Too close for thunder to warn before the flash. Every helmeted head flinched. Cassidy unclipped, crossed the deck in 3 strides, and placed her palm on the colonel's shoulder. "Not an equals touch of surgeons. Sir, give me 3 minutes to correct vector or we lose them." Braxton looked at her hand like it was a weapon. His pupils shrank and something primal fear, maybe sliced through bravado. He nodded once. She threw a quick salute to the cockpit glass, signaling the pilot. The interphone was clogged with static, so she used hand signals. Angle south-southwest, drop altitude 400 feet, throttle down until trim. The pilot, Captain Rivera, one of the few who respected her, confirmed with a thumb up. Cassidy sprinted down the line. Rate tightening risers, recalculating delay between exits. The green light flickered angry, so she slapped the override, bathing the bay in crimson again. Soldiers exhaled, the color telling them to stay. Drop of "if you've ever been underestimated." Morales joked, trying to cut tension as he wiped vomit from the deck. Laughter of fragile bridge over panic rippled. Cassidy returned to the ramp to check wind drift with a handheld meter. Crosswinds still nasty, but workable if they shifted 3 more degrees. She signaled again. The aircraft banked. The storm growled. 40 seconds later, vibration changed pitch. Engine 2 flamed out. The aircraft yawed right. Warning klaxons screamed. Braxton's face drained as hydraulic needles flicked red. Cassidy's mind cataloged constants. Load 32,000 pounds. Airspeed 140 knots, bleeding fast. Altitude 8,580 and slumping. She glanced at the static line forest. Each rope a potential garrote if things spiraled. She hit the pilot's interphone. Feather engine, hold 90% on 1 in 3. Dump ballast in sequence. Roger, Rivera grunted, voice shaking but functional. Cargo ramp would need partial unload something they hadn't rehearsed because it required someone to go outside mid-storm. Guess who volunteers? Cassidy thought. She grabbed a safety harness, clipping twin lanyards. To floor tracks, Morales tried to intercept. Cass, You're their anchor inside. Keep them breathing. He swallowed and stepped aside. Cassidy slung a satchel of emergency flares and stepped onto the ramp. Wind punching her chest like a prize fighter. Rain shards lashed sideways. Below, the river flashed silver, churning with whitecaps. She unclipped 2 cargo pallets' non-critical gear and signaled to release. They slid, caught air, and spiraled into the darkness. The plane lurched upward as weight dropped. Good, but lightning. Arced again, this time kissing the left elevator. Controls jittered. Rivera shouted that trim was slipping. Cassidy didn't hesitate. She edged farther out, boots skating on wet metal, to manually inspect the elevator rod from the outside. A suicide move, according to any checklist. But her fingertips detected the real problem, a snapped bonding. Strap whipping like a steel ribbon. Static discharge had nowhere to bleed. She yanked a spare grounding cable from her vest, clamped it, sparks biting her knuckles. Metal hissed. The rod settled into smoother vibration. Inside, Braxton stared, slack-jawed, as the aircraft steadied. Morales whispered to no one, "She's not cargo, she's airborne." Cassidy hauled herself back into the bay, soaked, trembling with adrenaline she refused to show. She passed Braxton without looking at him. "Vector's clean. We can drop in 60 seconds. Your call, sir." He opened his mouth, closed it, then hit the intercom. "All jumpers, stand by." But his tone had changed, command tempered with humility. Green light returned. Cassidy's lips barely moved, counting heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, go. Paratroopers surged, lines snapping taut, bodies swallowed by the storm mouth. Cassidy watched each canopy bloom on radar, confirming descent paths within safe. Arcs, 19 chutes. She waited for the 20th blip. Nothing. Alarm prickled her spine. She scanned the deck. One harness still clipped. Private Northcutt, barely 19, hands frozen, eyes glued to the void. His static line wrapped around his boot. No time. Cassidy sprinted, slashed the tangle free, and clipped his line to her own harness. "We're going," she said. He shook his head, mute with terror. She shoved the flare into his hand. "I promised your mother I'd send you back in one piece. Jump on 3. Wind staggered them as they stepped to the ramp edge. Lightning strobed, revealing the colonel watching helpless while the woman he'd called cargo girl prepared to leap into a microburst, dragging a rookie behind her. 1. She tightened grip on the static line. 2. Private Northcutt inhaled a sob. 3. They stepped into blackness. Before they could feel the fall, the aircraft tail pitched violently upward. Wrong moment, wrong angle, and Cassidy's lifeline jerked her sideways. Metal screamed as the ramp control hydraulics failed, freezing. Half open, her harness jammed in the gap, crushing her ribs. Northcutt dangled below, chute still stowed, weight tearing them both toward death. Pain detonated behind her eyes. Breath fled. She slammed a fist against the release lever stuck. Above, Braxton bellowed for tools. Merrill sprinted, but the rail blocked him. Rain knifed their faces. Lightning strobed, blinding. Cassidy's vision narrowed to a tunnel containing only problems and solutions. She twisted, reaching for the emergency knife strapped behind her knee, but her elbow pinned. Hydraulics hissed. Metal groaned as the ramp sagged further. The static line to Northcutt's chute wrapped her forearm, cutting blood flow. If she severed it, they'd both drop uncontrolled. If she didn't, the ramp would shear them in half. She inhaled through. Cracked ribs, mind-whispering parents' cadence. Slow is smooth. Smooth is silent. Silent is survival. She would need a miracle cut, one motion, 2 lives. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow, I have a special story for you. Metal shrieked, rain hammered, and Cassidy Hawthorne counted heartbeats, the only rhythm she could still command. Lightning strobed violet across the Gulf sky, illuminating a tableau frozen by terror. The SU-130's ramp sagged half open, its hydraulic pistons bleeding fluid like wounded arteries. Private Northcott dangled beneath, static line knotted around Cassidy's forearm. And Colonel Braxton, face ghost white, scrambled for tools he barely understood. The entire world had narrowed to 3 souls and a decision that could sever or save them all. She inhaled through cracked ribs, tasting copper and hydraulic oil. Asterisk slow is smooth. Smooth is silent. Silent is survival. Asterisk. Her father's cadence steadied trembling nerves. But thought alone could not free an arm pinned by 2,000 pounds of aluminum. She needed leverage and anchor other than her own body. Cassidy's eyes flicked left. A freight net still chained to the deck near Morales, laden with rations. If she could loop the static line through that net, load transfer might relieve enough tension to slide her arm free. Simple physics, murderous in execution. Morales, she rasped. The wind ate the word. She tried again, diaphragm barking pain. Net block pulley, he understood, brown eyes widening. He slung himself forward, boots skating on wet metal, and yanked a cargo hook from the wall. One misstep would send him over the edge. Drop a "if you're the calm in chaos," Cassidy thought, wishing she could broadcast that micro-humor to the men below. Anything to keep hearts beating in rhythm. With hope. Morales clipped the hook to Northcott's slack harness strap, then fed the line through the freight net bracket. Muscles corded in his forearms as he hauled, rerouting weight away from Cassidy's arm. Pain lessened from white-hot to red-fanged. She exhaled, twisted a fraction enough to reach the shears strapped at her ankle. Northcott's eyes were saucer wide beneath his helmet. Rain streamed off his chin like tears. I can't feel my legs," he cried. "You will," Cassidy said, tone clinical. She sawed through the jammed harness webbing biting her ribs. Strands snapped, whipping like severed nerves. Freedom. But freedom meant gravity took hold. Northcott dropped 2 feet before the pulley snatched, jerking them both. The ramp groaned. Again, hydraulic pressure bleeding low. Warning klaxons in the cockpit howled about asymmetrical surfaces. Captain Rivera shouted over intercom, "We're losing elevator authority, 30 seconds to stall." Braxton finally materialized with, "A breaker bar, skin sallow. What do you need?" Cassidy's glare cut him sharper than the shears. "Stabilize elevator. You left the grounding strap unsecured on the right side. Reattach or we ditch." His jaw quivered, ego battling panic, but he crawled along the wall toward the access panel. Some lessons cost blood, she thought. Then focused on the real war, saving Northcott and the men already drifting below. Outside the aircraft, the storm mutated from threat into predator. Updrafts clawed parachutes sideways, chutes snapping like bones as wind shear clawed at silk. Cassidy's wrist, mounted altimeter, half-drowned, blinked altitude descent profiles. 19 dots veered dangerously toward a cliff-walled gorge. If terrain swallowed them, extraction would take days, and storms here birthed flash floods lethal in minutes. Cassidy remembered childhood. Nights beside her mother's field clinic. Triage under lantern light, running hydration lines while thunder rattled tin rooftops. Survival hinged on seeing patterns before wounds screamed. Forecast said the microburst would pass north in under 4 minutes. After that, wind would calm. 4 minutes an eternity hanging by a fraying line. She slapped her headset. "Rivera, Keep angle at tube 0. Stall horn screaming, I know. Hold her level. Copy trim at max, but elevator limp. Braxton's on it. She couldn't. Waste breath on doubt. Cassidy unclipped her main lanyard, keeping only a single tether to the floor track. Commit or crash, her father taught on Sniper Walkway. Choose the shot once, never twice. She planted boots on the ramp lip, rainwater, swirling around ankles, and hauled Northcutt higher using legs as winch. Her ribs shrieked. Northcutt moaned. The pulley squealed, but load shifted just enough for his feet to clear steel. Listen, she barked into his ear, nose inches from his visor. On 3, you let go of everything except your reserve D-ring. Your chute deploys, you guide. South 90 degrees, copy? He sobbed, nodding. Lightning flicked again, purple cracks along cloud belly. Count 1,000, 2, thunder. Storm cell overhead. Good. She mouthed slow as smooth, and kicked the pulley release. Northcutt dropped into blackness at 1 heartbeat. 2 chute blossomed white. Radar confirmed 20 blips now weaving toward clearing. Relief might have buckled her knees if adrenaline hadn't already fused them, but the aircraft no longer cared about cargo or heroes. A sickening lurch rolled the fuselage left. The stall horn's monotone became hysterical beeping. Without full elevator control, they were a brick with wings. Morales yelled. Cast gear door jammed. Ramp can't close. She scanned. Ramp pistons hemorrhaging fluid. Hydraulic reservoir showing 0. Open door meant drag. Drag meant lost lift. They had maybe 800 feet before ground kissed them goodbye. Inside cockpit, Rivera shouted. Emergency climb impossible. Suggest ditch over river prepping life rafts. Cassidy's mind sprinted through checklist trees. Restore control surfaces or lighten further. She recalled line item 4.9 from a forgotten manual. Asterisk, if ramp unresponsive and hydraulics drained. Manual crank possible via O port. Asterisk, but O port sat outside fuselage. Starboard side, a narrow catwalk where slipstream could peel skin. Braxton's voice cracked over intercom. Cargo girl ideas? She almost laughed at the belated humility. Manual crank starboard. Need 2 bodies in 2 minutes. I'll go, he said. No, she replied. I go. Morales with me. You stay cockpit guide Rivera. Without waiting, she clipped twin lanyards, 1 to floor, 1 to Morales, and sprinted towards starboard emergency hatch. Wind roared like a freight train once they opened it. An access ladder the width of a boot sole led to the catwalk. Steel icy slick. Drop us if heights punch your gut, Morales quipped through gritted teeth, and Cassidy's lips twitched. Despite terror, they crab walked the catwalk, shoulders scraping fuselage. 10 meters ahead, the O-crank housing rattled like a coin in a tin. Morales braced, looping his harness through a strut, anchoring himself and Cassidy. Rain reduced vision to ghostly halos around strobes. She unlatched housing, exposing a rusted socket. The crank handle folded inside needed a 2-step telescoping action, stubborn even in hangar calm. Wind gauge reads gusts at 60. Morales yelled. Cassidy's fingers numbed. She slammed the handle once, twice. It refused. Ribs stabbed with every breath. Silent as survival. She inhaled, clearing mind, then pressed tiny release pin at base handle extended. She jammed it into socket. Together they turned. Nothing. Drag load immense. Again. Muscles screamed. Ramp inched upward a centimeter. Airframe juddered. Cockpit. Airspeed down to 112 stall in 10. Rivera roared. Again. The crank teeth groaned, metal grinding like tectonic plates. Ramp rose another inch. Cass felt the plane shiver as drag eased fractionally. But time bled faster than their strength. Morale's eyes rolled upward, veins bulging. 5 more rotations. 4, she corrected. Voice calm, though vision dotted black. They heaved. Third rotation socket slipped, barked knuckles raw. Fourth handle bent, but ramp up 18 inches now. Enough? She keyed intercom. Rivera, status. 118 knots stable-ish, but elevator still lazy. You need 30% more closure. Cassidy bit lip until blood pooled. Lightning exploded again, white as birth. Momentary clarity lit the catwalk. She saw it, a secondary latch above crank and emergency collapse lever. If engaged, springs would slam ramp shut using stored torsion. Why manuals never mentioned? Perhaps because testing such in flight risks structural failure. But crushed is better than stalled. She shouted plan to Morale's 30-word burst. He paled, nodded. She secured his lanyard shorter, hers longer if ramp slammed. Someone must re-enter hatch immediately. 2. 1. She wrenched lever. A concussive clang answered. Ramp jerked closed in half-second, slamming like a guillotine. Shockwave flung Cassidy backward off catwalk. Wind yanked her slack tether, taut spine snapping jolt. She swung like a pendulum, boots skimming storm cloud. Ocean of night below. Lanyard bit harness, webbing creaked. Merrill screamed her name, fists white on strut. She dangled, heartbeat drumming ears. Rain cascaded, but fear tasted dry like dust on sniper range. She reached for catwalk lip, fingers brushing metal. Too short. She flexed abdomen, curling upward ribs stabbing to shorten distance. A gust slapped her sideways, spinning. Moonlight flickered between clouds, showing her the world upside down. Asterisk, remember the rope trick. Father's voice whispered, a childhood memory of climbing barn rafters. She looped right leg over tether, cinched, creating friction break. Slowly she inched. Upward, hand over hand, ignoring screaming muscles. Morales extended an arm. Come on, cargo queen. He yelled, a new call sign blossoming. She clasped his wrist. Together they hauled until she collapsed onto metal grate. For half a breath they lay side by side. Chests heaving. Intercom crackled. Ramp sealed. Airspeed. Up 130 climbing. Good save. Rivera whooped. Cassidy exhaled, rain mixing with sweat. Deep inside, a coal of triumph glowed, but no time to bask. Below, 19 paratroopers fought wind. The 20th, Northcott, drifted near canyon rim. Focus. Colonel scratched stubble. Chopper. Storm forbids rotor. Silence thickened. Cassidy felt men's eyes turning to her, the quiet one who solved impossible. She stared at the blinking dot like target reticle. Impossible? Her father's. Mantra morphed. Asterisk slow is smooth. Smooth is silent. Silent is. Sniper. Asterisk she flipped switch for onboard hilo sled experimental supply pod with steerable parafoil. Verified payload empty. Could swap for personnel. Use C-130 to redrop at lower altitude as Flying Fox rescue. Mad tactic, but physics-friendly. She spoke it aloud. Braxton balked. You'd ride a supply sled into a gorge at night? I will, she said. Insane, Morales muttered, but began checking harness fittings. Rivera banked south, aiming for Northcott's beacon. Altimeter reading 4,500 and dropping. Wind calmer below storm belly. Cassidy's prediction. Within 30 seconds they'd be overhead. She pre-flighted the pod. Servo motors, parafoil extension, manual override joystick. Weight capacity 250 she and minimal gear. Enough. Braxton tried again, voice softer. If you miss, I don't. He swallowed, then glanced at crew. Make it happen. Drop a, if you've ever leapt before looking, Morales quipped, lashing her harness to pod frame. Cassidy smirked, though stomach churned. Ribs bruised, shoulders raw, but mind razor clear. Rivera buzzed. Over beacon in 10. 9. Wind vector east at 12. 7. Cassidy knelt inside pod coffin, gripping control yoke. Ramp. Reopened, this time obedient, and night inhale rushed her hair loose. 3, 2, 1 deploy. Pod slid free. Gravity embraced. Air roared. Parafoil exploded above with a metallic pop. Lines caught, canopy yanked open, converting plummet into glide. Acceleration bled to smooth dive. Her visor HUD wired to beacon feed painted terrain ghost green. Canyon rim jagged, floor hidden. In black, Northcote's strobe flashed faint ahead, oscillating like dying star. She pulled left, carving arc. Wind whispered around parafoil. Lightning distant now, storm migrating north, leaving moon to silver clouds. Beautiful lethal night. Altitude 600, 500. She spied silhouette. Northcote swinging beneath chute, suspended maybe 50 feet above rock ledge. Thermal updraft pinned him where downdraft once threatened. Pure luck, temporal luck. Cassidy. Angled shallower, matching horizontal vector. Distance dwindled, 70 yards, 30, 10. She toggled servo flaps, stalling canopy for final approach. Pod stalled too soon, dropped smacked ledge with bone-rattling jolt. She unhitched, rolled clear as pod skittered into scrub. Northcote dangled 6 feet above. She scrambled, climbed boulder, grabbed his ankle, pulled the ledge. He collapsed, sobbing. She cut his chute free and hugged him, steady pulse, no fractures. He cried, "Thought you were an angel." "Let's upgrade to escort." She keyed handheld radio to aircraft. Package secured. Cheers erupted over static. Northcote shivered, teeth chattering. She wrapped survival blanket around him, then scanned gorge wall. No direct exfil until storm fully passes. They'd bivouac under overhang. GDP good data point. Her SATCOM tracked other paratroopers rallying at primary drop zone 1 kilometer east. They'd mount ground retrieval at dawn. She settled Northcote against rock, started small chemical. Heater. Pain blossomed in ribs once adrenaline ebbed. She leaned back, watching clouds crawl across stars. Moonlight glinted on her dog tag, a single etched word. Hawkeye, father's old call sign gifted to her. Northcote whispered, "Why do they call you cargo girl?" She chuckled softly, echo swallowed by darkness. Past tense, rookie. Above. The Key 130 orbited like a guardian comet, its strobes blinking farewell as fuel forced return to base. Braxton's last transmission crackled through her headset. "Hawthorne, you saved 20 lives tonight, including mine. Full debrief at 06, and thank you." She let silence answer. Gratitude could wait. Stars needed witnessing. She closed her eyes, listening to wind whisper along granite, telling stories billions of years old. Pulse slowed. Pain subsided into background static. Purpose remained, but peace was temporal. Radios barked again, Morale's voice frantic. "Cass, SATCOM just lit up. Weather rerouting medevac choppers. Command says flash flood alert in canyon within 40 minutes. Cassidy's eyes snapped open. She looked down at creek bed 2. 100 meters below dry, but etched with fresh scar channels. Thunder distant, but river headwaters miles upstream could dump walls of water without warning. She rose. Joints protesting. "Confirm coordinates," she said. Morale's red numbers. They matched canyon. Northcote watched her face blanch. "What is it?" "Water inbound," she said. "We climb." She scanned sheer granite walls, few holds, but maybe Southernmouth had scree slope. In weak headlamp glow, she plotted route. Traverse ledge, cross a stone chimney, ascend to saddle. 90 vertical meters, doable but brutal with ribs and rookie. She hauled Northcote upright. "You said you couldn't feel legs?" "Time to prove they're liars." He swallowed, nodded. They started. Uneven strides echoing off rock. Each minute thunder grew louder, though lightning remained distant sound of water tumbling unseen. Cassidy's altimeter read 3,900 little margin. At chimney gap. Northcote slipped, sending pebbles cascading. She caught his harness, ribs shrieking. He whimpered, "Leave me, not an option." She pulled him over lip.**drop. If quitting was never your style. She muttered, half prayer, half mantra. Halfway up slope they heard it, roar like freight train, flash flood. White water surged into canyon throat, devouring darkness. Moonlight. Shattered in spray. Their ledge pulsed with quake vibrato. They climbed faster. Cassidy's lungs burned, vision tunneling. Ribs felt molten. Still she urged, 30 meters. Northcott sobbed but obeyed. Water hit lower walls, geysers exploding. Upward, mist-soaked faces. Rocks loosened, clattering past. Her boot skidded. She jammed fingers into crack, nails ripping. Pain bright white, meaningless. Up. 10 meters. Flood fury screaming. Goo of mud splattered, stinging. She shoved Northcott over final lip onto plateau. As she scrambled last reach, boulder tore free above grinding roar overhead. She looked up, a car-sized slab tumbling on collision path. No time to dodge. Only to shield rookie. She shoved Northcott sideways and turned to leap boulder-filled sky. Crash. Dust-whitened world. Silence fell, heartbeat deafening. Northcott called her name. Dust cleared enough to reveal ledge rubble and a void where Cassidy had stood. His scream knifed the night. Echoes ricocheted off the canyon walls, shredding the night with the raw edge of Northcott's scream. Dust drifted like gunpowder smoke, blurring moonlight into smears of gray. Northcott's headlamp wobbled over shattered stone and gnarled. Juniper roots, searching for what had been Cassidy Hawthorne. The slab that crushed the ledge lay split in two gravities cruel, mercy leaving a triangular pocket beneath piles of rubble. He dropped to his knees, fingers clawing blood-slick gravel. "Cassidy!" He shouted, voice scraping throat. A cough weak, muffled answered. Relief detonated in his chest so hard he nearly retched. He scraped away stones the size of textbooks. Nails shearing. Ribs groaned from earlier bruises, but adrenaline numbed consequence. "Hold on." He rasped out another cough, then her voice, hoarse but anchored. "Leverage, use branch." Branch? He swept headlamp, spotting a fallen pinning limb lodged between boulders. It looked feather-thin compared to the weight imprisoning her, yet Cassidy had chosen the word leverage. He heard her unspoken mantra, physics, not brute force. He wedged the limb under a fist-sized crevice and leaned, channeling the torque his drill sergeant once promised he didn't possess. Rock shifted a quarter inch. He tried again. Branch creaked, fiber splintering. Rock rolled, revealing a glove. He grabbed the glove, pulled too soon. Cassidy hissed pain. He saw her arm twisted under a slab edge. "We need fulcrum," she whispered. Rain-slick wind whipped his face. Far below, the flash flood surged, bellowing like dragons devouring boulders. Water mist-cooled dust, turning, footing into slippery paste. "Drop a, if you dig through hell for a teammate." Northcott muttered, half prayer. He found a flatter rock, jammed it as second fulcrum, repositioned branch. Body weight alone inadequate. He looped his rappel line through branch fork, anchored free end to his harness. "I'm no hero," he said softly, "but you made me believe I could be." Then he leaned back, full body vector, feet braced. The branch cracked but rock lurched up an inch. He shoved knee under, held. Another heave, another inch. He slid his shoulder into gap, ignoring tear of fabric and skin. One final grunt and the slab toppled to side, thudding like distant artillery. Moonlight poured into cavity. Cassidy lay half supine, chest caked with dust, helmet cracked, but eyes sharp. Blood-streaked hairline. Pant leg torn, revealing swelling. Calf. Northcott stuttered. I thought, help me sit," she ordered, voice thin yet firm. Her ribs clearly protested. He braced her back. She inhaled slow, testing lung. Legs busted, she assessed. Fibula or tibia, Need splint. Northcote's panic returned. Flood roar louder now. Thin tributaries licked lower terraces only 20 feet below. We've got to move. Exactly. She scanned debris field, eyes calculating slopes. She withdrew multi-tool from vest, tossed to him. Cut those 2 juniper poles, anchor with chute lines. We splint, then we climb. He obeyed, hands steadier once given purpose. Moments later, splint secured tight. She bit lip but never cried out. Lightning flared distant west, revealing Saddle Ridge maybe 40 meters upward shelter if they reached before water or rockfall. Cassidy tested crutch improvisation. 1 trekking pole, branch crossbar. Northcote slung her left arm over his shoulder. Together they limped. Every step jarred Cassidy's ribs like reopened wounds. Pain cloud threatened cognition, but she partitioned agony into a locked mental box training from mother's field surgeries without anesthesia. She narrated route aloud. Traverse 8 meters to that chimney, ascend 5. Foothold under quartz. Seam, direction anchored focus. Updraft carried scent of wet clay. Flood front, now a frothing black ribbon creeping up canyon floor, devouring ledges where they'd stood minutes earlier. Minutes, faster, she advised, Northcote's boot. Slipped. He caught scrub root, heart leaping. Cassidy squeezed his shoulder, silent reassurance. They reached chimney crack. Northcote climbed first, then hauled her with rope as she hop-scaled. At rim, both collapsed. A plateau stretched beyond, studded with boulders the size of cargo. Containers. Farther, the ridge broke into gentle slope overshadowed by ponderosa pines safe height. Cassidy exhaled. Lungs rattled. She felt blood inside boot, probable laceration. Vision glittered with hypovolemic stars. But Northcote glanced at her, eyes bright with newly forged loyalty, and she found an extra incense of will. They pushed onward, weaving between boulders. Flood far below thundered unseen. Rain tapered to drizzle. Storm cell migrating east. Stars re-emerged, spattering sky like spilled silver filings. Northcote asked, "Why didn't you yell when rock hit?" She half smiled. Airways for breathing, not screaming. Half an hour later, they reached Pines. Elevation nearly 4,500 feet. Safe if not for cold. Cassidy's core chilled by shock. She directed Northcote to gather dry needles under rock overhang, sheltered from wind. She produced compact stove pellet, ignited spark. Flame birthed warmth and hope. Radio crackled morales. "Cass? You alive? Chopper on standby, storm breaking. ETA 30. She pressed transmit. Alive. 2 casualties. Leg fracture, possible internal injuries. Coordinates. She recited GPS from wrist screen. Static burst. Then Braxton's voice softer. Than before. Hold tight. Dust off launching. Proud of you too. She clicked acknowledgement. Northcote eyed her leg swelling. Does it hurt? Everything hurts, she said. But hurt is data, not destiny. He laughed shakily. You sound like my grandma when she fixed tractors. Cassidy's eyelids drooped. Fire crackle lulled. But a new rumble intruded rotors? No, still far away. She sharpened senses, sound of engine, but not helicopter. Low, throaty, multi-piston hum. She peered over ridge. Headlights snaked along desert track toward canyon mouth. 5-6 vehicles. White SUVs. She frowned. Base wouldn't send convoy at night. Northcote followed gaze. Maybe search and rescue? Those are unmarked. Her skin chilled anew, this time not from cold. Her memo logs recalled rumor. Private security contractor staging near Phase Echo. Interested in salvage of classified sensor packages attached to experimental parachutes. Packages on tonight's load manifested as inert but worth millions. In black market. If contractors intercepted stranded troops before official rescue, they could strip gear, silence witnesses. Tension coiled like steel cable. Cassidy doused fire with sand. Darkness reclaimed them. "Drop a if you've ever trusted your gut over gear," she murmured. Northcott whispered. "What do we do?" "Hide, then observe." She crawled too. Vantage rocked despite leg screaming. Night optics fused to her helmet, still operational. She zoomed. Convoy halted near canyon trailhead. Men spilled 8 silhouettes carrying suppressed carbines, not med kits. They spoke into radios. One pointed toward drop zone. Cassidy's heartbeat slowed to sniper cadence. Target acquisition. Threat level. Options. She scanned their route. Winding switchbacks leading eventually to plateau, where surviving paratroopers now clustered. Unarmed trainees versus armed contractors massacre. Possible. Radio beeped again. Rivera. Dust off delayed medevac diverted to wildfire evac 20 miles south. Earliest extraction 90 minutes. Cassidy's stomach nodded. "Copy," she said, voice flat to hide dread. Northcott overheard. "We can't let them reach the others." "We won't," she promised. Mind raced. What assets? She had 1 service pistol, 3 mags, flare. Gun, half charge on drone pilot pad inside her rescue pod, if still intact. Drone? An idea sparked. Parafoil pod had auto-hover test thrusters small, but maybe repurposed to deliver decoys or even create landslide. She retrieved pad from satchel. Battery 27%. Drone icon blinking. She commanded liftoff. Somewhere below, motors whined. On tablet map, a blue dot ascended. "Need vantage," she muttered. She limped up to ridge crest. Northcott supported her. They huddled behind granite spire as drone camera streamed canyon entrance. Contractors trekking uphill. If she could jettison. Last of pod's ballast adjusted to crates of sand they could drop. Mini avalanche onto path, but autopilot required line of sight. She'd need to fly manual through canyon crosswinds. She inhaled, ignoring pain, slipped a jar visor down. Drone view overlaid terrain in neon edges. She guided craft over convoy. Jet micro-thruster sputtered, but stable. She selected dump. Payload, on-screen warning, unsafe altitude, she overrode. Sand crates ejected, tumbling. She yanked craft sideways as avalanche of loose shale followed. Contractors heard rumble, looked up too late. Dust cloud engulfed them, debris clattering. Thermal cam showed heat signatures scattering, some prone. Northcott whispered, "Bullseye." "Delay, not defeat," she replied. Some icons still moving. She steered drone higher, searching for bigger leverage. A limestone overhang jutted above switchback. If she triggered collapse, path blocked for hours. But drone thrust minimal. She spotted fissure water loosened from storm. A flare inside crack might pry it. She had pistol rounds, but firing risked revealing position. She dug into med kit, found chemical heat pack, magnesium strip from survival stove, and spare battery. Jury rigging, exothermic charge possible, she explained plan to Northcott. He nodded, though eyebrows screamed, "You're insane." They prepped device. Battery leads to magnesium to heat pack guts. She loaded package into drone gripper. Flew to fissure. Dropped. 10 seconds. Camera showed tiny spark, then bright flash, then booming roar as rock shelf fractured, collapsing onto path. Dust plume rose 200 feet. Heart pounded. Drone feed lost. She lowered visor, exhaled. Northcott grinned wide. "You just won the canyon." "Maybe," she corrected. Thermal scan still showed 3 signatures circumventing slide. She holstered pad. "We moved to paratroopers, warned them." Northcott looked at her leg. "You can't march 2 kilometers." She shrugged. "Watch me." Pain box locked again. Desert night ticked toward 0300. Moon dipped west, painting outlines in ghostlight. They descended pine slope onto barren mesa. Cassidy's crutch sank in sand. Every hop jarred broken fibula. Sweat chilled under flight suit. But determination filled fractures. Adrenaline left. Halfway, radio buzzed Braxton. Ground team from. Base en route on a TV's, ETA 50. You close to trainees? En route, she answered. Possible hostile actors on Canyon Trail. Advise armed escort. Silence, then gravelly, understood. I'll ride shotgun. Cassidy pressed forward, but vision swam edges of rock glowing auras. She stumbled. Northcutt steadied. She leaned briefly. 5-minute rest, she conceded. They sat against basalt slab. Stars thick as spilled salt overhead. Northcutt whispered, I was terrified of heights. Tonight I jumped, climbed, fought, because you believed I could. She smiled faintly. Lead from behind lines. He pulled ration bar half melted. They shared. Sugar revived clarity. Wind carried diesel sent ATVs. No, wrong direction. She rotated head, 3 faint headlamps cresting lower ridge behind them. Surviving contractors. She cursed under breath. They've got our track. Northcutt checked pistol mag. 8 rounds, you. 10. He swallowed. Not enough. Cover isn't bullets, she replied. She scanned, saw dry wash cutting mesa, flanked by tall Ocotillo brambles. An ambush wedge. They limped into wash. Cassidy set pistol on rock for quick draw, then stripped reflective tape from helmet, affixing to juniper twig. Stuck twig upright beyond bramble to mimic silhouette bait. She guided Northcutt to flank position. Fire 2 shots when first light passes decoy. Then move right 20 meters, change position. I'll create echo on left. He nodded. Fear replaced by soldier focus. Minutes stretched elastic. Headlamps bobbed closer, voices low. Cassidy's heartbeat slowed to predatory patience. Footsteps scrunched gravel. A beam swung across decoy, paused. Shot rang Northcutt's first. Contractor's light dropped, chaos. Cassidy fired at second. Silhouette's boot, sparking rock. Yells in Spanish cursed. She crab-crawled, relocated behind mesquite, fired again. Echoes ricocheted, making them think larger force. Contractors returned fire wildly. Sparks fizzed overhead. Adrenaline drowned pain. She fired final 3 rounds deliberately. 1 lamp shattered, another clipped rifle barrel, third into sand. Near leader's feet. Psychological over lethal. Flanking. A man shouted. Footsteps retreated. She risked peek. Silhouettes vanished back toward trail. They'd regroup, buying time for Braxton's ATV squad. She signaled Northcutt thumbs. Up. He grinned through dust mask of fear. They hurried wash exit, but Cassidy's vision tunneled. Sudden vertigo. She stumbled, collapsing to knees. Northcutt knelt. You're bleeding through splint. She looked blood dark under moon, saturating bandage. Compound fracture tearing artery. She fought wave of nausea. Tourniquet, she croaked. Northcutt looped belt, tightened above knee. Pain lightning bolted. She bit sleeve to stifle scream. Radio crackled again. Braxton. We see muzzle flashes. 2 clicks out. Hold on. Cassidy managed. Hurry. Wind gusted, carrying new sound. Rotor chop. She frowned. Medevac, earlier delayed. She peered skyward. Infrared strobe pattern unfamiliar. Silhouette sleek, maybe private helicopter. Chopper descended near paratrooper, drop sight ahead. Floodlights ignited canyon floor. Not ours, she whispered. Northcutt tensed. They're taking hostages or assets. Cassidy's options shrank. She glimpsed rescue ATVs cresting horizon. West 4 headlights. She toggled IR beacon. Unhelmet to guide them. But engagement territory complex. Contractors airborne. Braxton ground. Friendly fire risk. She hailed Braxton, outline scenario. He growled, we'll box them in. Chopper hovered. Winch lowered hook. Cassidy remembered sensor packages still attached to some trainees' gear. Contractors retrieving valuables, not humans. But trainees wouldn't surrender kits. Confrontation. Inevitable. She forced herself upright. leg screaming cruel protest. Northcott protested. "You can't run." "Watch me," she replied again, pushing through dark static at edge of consciousness that flood-born mud-sucked boots. But she limped, leaning on him. ATVs raced closer, engines high. Contractors' headlights pivoted at ridge to intercept. Suddenly, muzzle flares erupted near drop sight orange blossoms in night. Her radio filled with panicked trainees. "Contact!" "They're armed!" Cassidy's pulse hammered. Every second counted. She eyed ATVs. They'd arrive in under a minute. But crossfire risk. She needed to disable helicopter first. Her drone dead. Flare pistol? Yes. She loaded final magnesium flare. Helicopter fuel vent visible under tail boom if she could get angle. But range over 200 meters uphill. She calculated ballistic arc, wind 4 knots from west. Could attempt from rock outcrop midpoint. She veered toward it. Northcott supported. They reached boulder vantage. She braced crutch under armpit, steadied pistol grip flare launcher on knee. She whispered father's mantra once more. Deep inhale. RIBS cried. She exhaled slow, squeezing trigger. Green-white stars spat forth, arcing heavenward, trailing sparks. For a heartbeat, it seemed to miss. Then rotor wash sucked flare sideways into tail section. Bloom of fire whooshed, illuminating canyon like daylight. Chopper yawed, engines whining. Pilots tried to climb, but tail rotor stalled. Craft spun, clipped ridge, burst into fireball that rolled down scree, scattering contractors. Cassidy's strength deserted. She sagged against boulder, ears ringing. Flames licked sky as ATVs roared in. Silhouettes of Braxton and Morales jumping with rifles ready. Trainees cheered. Contractors scattered like ants. Cassidy smiled through tears of relief and promptly blacked out. Faint beeps pierced darkness. Medic scent. Antiseptic, plastic, warm saline. Cassidy forced eyelids open. Dawn light filtered through tent canvas. Braxton sat nearby, looking 50 years older, gripping coffee cup. He noticed her waking. "Cargo." "No, Captain Hawthorne." He corrected, voice thick. "Doc says surgery in 2 hours." Metal rod for leg. Ribs taped. She swallowed, throat sandpapery. "Private Northcott?" "Hobbling but whole. Sighed to tell you he re-enlisted for pararescue because of you." Cassidy tried to chuckle. Ribs protested. "Figures." Braxton set coffee aside, cleared throat. "I filed commendation, Silver Star request." "But you'll probably refuse." She closed eyes briefly. "Pin won't fix protocols." He nodded, shame etched. "About that, I grounded myself until investigation of tonight's failures complete." "You'll sit on board." She opened eyes, surprise. Flickered, then softened. "Make it count." A medic entered, checking vitals. Braxton excused himself. Cassidy drifted in morphine haze, dreamlike images of canyon fire, flood, stars. But peace remained elusive. An intelligence officer brushed into tent, whispering to medic. Words filtered. Missing sensor units. Contractors escape. Coordinates. Unknown. Medic frowned, glancing at Cassidy, then left. Cassidy's pulse quickened. Missing units meant mission not over. Light flared, smoke seared the canvas, and Cassidy Hawthorne's world collapsed into a gunshot's THUNDERFL. The suppressed round sliced the air, a fingertip's breadth from her cheek, stitching a burning path through the cot's pillow. Feather, down. Burst like snowfall in a nightmare. Cassidy rolled left off the mattress, splint-bound leg screaming as she hit the plywood floor. MPS shouted. The medic dropped the syringe and dove. The contractor's silhouette surged through the tent flap, muzzle already pivoting for a second shot. Cassidy's mind mapped angles before conscious thought. 5 meters. 9 degrees downward. Left foot forward, right shoulder canted center mass exposure. Her service pistol lay beneath folded blanket, 2 meters away, unreachable. She snatched the metal 4-pole instead, ripping it free of its saline bag. Stainless steel hissed across linoleum, connecting with the shooter's wrist. The suppressed pistol spat once more. The round punched a fist-sized hole in the canvas wall and vanished into dawn. The pole whirl clanged, knocking the weapon aside. Cassidy surged forward, ignoring leg agony, and rammed the butt of the pole into the man's trachea. He gagged, staggering. An MP tackled from behind, slamming him to the floor. Zip ties cinched wrists. Blood-flecked vinyl flooring. Adrenaline cratered, leaving Cassidy trembling. MPs dragged the assailant outside, shouting for medics. She exhaled, ribs protesting. The liaison, still frozen beside her cot, finally spoke, voice brittle. "They've breached inner perimeter." Cassidy glanced at the broken tent flap where pale sunlight poured through dust motes. "Perimeter never mattered," she said. "They're inside our chain of trust, not our fence." 10 minutes later, the camp resembled a kicked anthill. Sirens wailed. Soldiers sprinted between adobe barracks, weapons drawn. Colonel Braxton barked orders like a conductor of controlled mayhem. Medevac choppers circled overhead, rotors chopping air into panic-scented gusts. Cassidy sat on a folding chair beside Morales, a combat medic re-wrapping her thigh with fresh gauze and field immobilizer. Morales' grin tried to soften reality. "You know, most folks use sick leave after getting shot at, not go straight." "Back to work." Cassidy winced as tape tightened. "Work's the reason I'm not in a body bag." He snorted. "Drop a, if sick days feel like luxury," he muttered for imaginary viewers as she tested crutch weight, verifying balance. Carbon fiber shaft sturdy good. A rifle sat propped against her chair, an M4 she'd personally zeroed for range. "Day." She chamber-checked round ready. Braxton approached, face drawn. Perimeter sensors show a second breach on west fence. Intel suggests at least 4 more infiltrators targeting Cum's hub. "Disable Cum's isolate base, extract sensor core," Cassidy deduced. "Motorcycles decoy." Braxton nodded. "I'm leading quick reaction team to hub. Morales insists on backup." Morales lifted brow. "Captain Hawthorne rides with me if she can stand." "Captain Hawthorne hunts," she corrected, levering herself upright. The leg burned, but crutch distributed weight. "I'll intercept motorcycle." Liaison comes as tracker. The civilian woman stepped forward. Jaw clenched. "Name's Patel," she stated. "Field operations qualified." "Qualifications are bullets on belt," Cassidy replied. "You strapped?" Patel revealed a compact SIG, nodding grimly. Braxton exhaled. "You've got 1 Humvee, satellite link, and 0 command delay. Bring that core home." The Humvee's diesel engine rumbled like a waking dragon as it rolled past concertina wire and out onto the desert washboard. Morning sun climbed, bleaching sagebrush to pale silver. Dust roosters erupted behind the tires, trailing a pointer line toward the Mexican border. Cassidy sat shotgun, crutch wedged between radio console and door, rifle resting across lap. Patel handled the wheel with calculated aggression, eyes veiled behind polarized lenses. Cassidy tuned portable sock pad to track her frequency. A red dot pulsed across topo overlay, skirting dry lake beds and abandoned mining roads. Speed, 90 kilometers per hour. Distance, 43 miles and shrinking. Contractors on a Yamaha Dual Sport. He'll ditch roads, cut arroyos. She predicted. Patel nodded. Terrain ahead, lava rock fields, gullies like bone fractures. Humvee suspension hates that. Good, Cassidy said. We want him to think wheels protect him. We dismount before he knows. Patel flicked gaze sideways. You sure leg can handle chase? Heard his data, Cassidy answered, adjusting splint. I'll process later. Silence stretched, broken only by CB crackle. Half an hour chewed by dust, then Cassidy spoke low. Why was my duffel near wreck? Patel's hands tightened on steering wheel textures. I ordered personal effects salvaged from drop zone for decon. Contractors exploited chaos. Convenient exploitation. Cassidy studied Patel's reflection in window. Your security. Clearance gives you remote access to sensor firmware. Patel's jaw muscle twitched. I serve the department. You served them a loaded gun, Cassidy shot back. Tension saturated cab air like ozone before lightning. Patel downshifted, engine growling as they crested a ridgeline. The tracker beeped faster distance 21 miles. Patel cleared throat. Your father, Sergeant Major Gideon Hawthorne, trained me at Bragg before he retired. Said you'd surpass him one day. Cassidy's chest tightened. Memories of mountain dawns and the smell of Hop's gun oil flooded senses. She said nothing. Patel continued, softer. I owed him. That's why I kept your bag under personal watch. Contractors still grabbed it. My failure. For the first time, Cassidy saw edges of guilt beneath Patel's icy composure. She nodded, burying suspicion for later. We all missed something. They left asphalt for Jeep trail carved by flash floods. Rocks clanged against skid plates. Patel braced arms, teeth clenched. Cassidy scanned horizon. Columns of dust to South Braxton's quick reaction team. Too distant. She toggled radio. Static, then faint voice moral spanting, gunfire echoing. Cum's hub battle had begun. Cassidy closed squelch. Focus. The red dot veered off track, heading for an arroyo labyrinth called Devil's Gullet. She recalled topographic memory from drone recon. Slot canyons barely wider than a TV. Perfect choke point. She tapped map. Intercept here. We cut engine 3 miles out. Approach on foot. Patel raised brow at her leg but nodded. Minutes later. They parked beneath a petrified mesquite grove. Heat waves already blurred horizon, though sun barely mid-morning. Dust taste metallic on tongue. Cassidy slung rucksack medical kit. Extra mags, micro-drone spare battery, and tightened thigh tourniquet notch. Pain spiked. She breathed through it. They trekked across alluvial fan-dotted yucca spears. Cassidy's crutch sank into sand. She shifted weight to rifle butt as walking stick. Each step measured. Plant, breathe, plant like marksman trigger pulls. Sweat-soaked flight suit, salt-stinging split lip. Patel offered canteen. Cassidy waved off until meter beep signaled half-mile proximity. They crouched behind basalt outcrop, peering into Devil's Gullet entrance, a stone maw swallowing shadow. Engine echoes pulsed inside, then faded. He stopped. Patel whispered. Cassidy popped micro-drone from pocket, launched with flick. Silent rotors whisked upward. Tablet streamed thermal overlay. Heat plume ahead, motorcycle idling under cliff overhang. Figure dismounted, kneeling over SATCHEL. Cassidy zoomed. Contractor removed Kevlar vest, revealing tan jumpsuit with emblem of obscure logistics firm Shell Corp. He extracted fist-sized object sensor core, matte black cylinder with data pins. He plugged a cable into tablet, likely decrypting. Patel exhaled shallow. Once he dumps firmware, it's in the wild. Cassidy studied route. Canyon walls 20-foot vertical, crumbly tough. Only approach down gully, exposed. She checked mags too full. Patel mirrored. Flank left along ledge. Cassidy instructed. I draw focus. Your leg can't sprint, Patel objected. I won't sprint, just stand in the open. Cassidy replied, eyes iron. He'll underestimate. Patel hesitated, then nodded, slipping away ghost-like. Cassidy advanced, crutch scraping gritty stone. The contractor looked up, surprise flickering to calculation. He raised suppressed MP5, but didn't fire, curious at limping intruder. Lost? He called, voice lightly accented Spanish. Following breadcrumbs, she answered, stopping 40 feet away. Sun backlit her silhouette. Heat shimmer blurred details. He smirked. You're the miracle girl from Storm. My bosses pay double for live samples. He gestured with muzzle. Drop rifle, Captain. Cassidy set M4 stock on ground, crutch. Beside, weight shifted to injured leg, knees wobbling theatrically. He chuckled, stepping forward. Brave but broken. She smiled thinly. Broken things cut deepest. His brow furrowed. In that heartbeat, Patel dropped from ledge behind him, boot connecting with his gun arm. Shot barked into dirt. Cassidy dove, grabbing her M4, rolling behind boulder. Contractor spun, elbowed Patel, forcing retreat. He leveled MP5 at her chest. Cassidy popped up, firing 3-round burst. Rounds pinged helmet, ricochet off night vision mount, staggering him. Patel lunged, disarmed MP5, but he backhanded her, yanking pistol from belt. He fired. Patel twisted, round grazing rib. Cassidy's next burst took his thigh. He collapsed, screaming. Sensor core skidded across dust toward cliff edge 30 foot. Drop into ravine. Cassidy limped forward, ground tilted. Blood loss made Horizon swim. Contractor pulled detonator small rectangular remote. One button wipes data. Touch it and everyone's work is ash. Cassidy froze, rifle trained. Patel clutched rib, bleeding. Slide your weapon, he rasped. Cassidy did. But her fingers brushed crutch base where small flare adapters still clipped. Plan ignited, but time thin. She spoke calm. Button kills your payday too, he shrugged. My life's worth more. He thumbed safety cap. Patel moaned. Shoot him. Cassidy whispered, slow as smooth, and flicked thumb, releasing flare from crutch toward contractor's face. Magnesium burst blinding light. Reflex made him flinch, detonator arm shielding. Eyes, in same instant, Cassidy hurled crutch like spear. Metal shaft smacked detonator hand, knocking remote free. It tumbled over cliff. Contractor roared, lunging for sensor core. Cassidy dove, grabbing object first. Pain lanced leg, but adrenaline overrode. They grappled, dust choked lungs. He slammed fist into her ribs, fractured bones protested. She bit his thumb, twisting, kneeing groin. He howled. She rolled away, core secured. He scrambled to retrieve MP5. Patel tackled again, both biting dust. Gun slid. Cassidy crawled, seized MP5, fired single shot into contractor's boot, pinning foot to earth. He screamed surrender, breath ragged. Cassidy surveyed scene, Patel bleeding but stable. Contractor neutralized, sensor core intact. She radioed Humvee transceiver strapped to chest. Objective secure, one hostile KIA-foot. Static answered, then Morale's voice triumph. Comes hub clear, where are you? Devil's Gullet, need Kasivek and Intel team. Patel slumped beside, exhaustion etched. You good? Cassidy chuckled, then winced. Define good. Hours later, blacktop helicopter blades thrummed above makeshift landing zone. Dust cycloned as flight medic team offloaded gurneys. Cassidy refused stretcher until core handoff. A young tech sealed it in Faraday crate, nodding respect. Nation thanks you, Captain. She accepted water pouch, drained half. Patel, bandaged, leaned on collapsible cane. Dinner at some point? She joked weakly. Cassidy managed grin. Droppa, if you've earned takeout after chaos. Braxton. Strode over, Kevlar dusty, sweat streaks on temples. Morales says you performed textbook capture with half your skeleton broken. On filing for Distinguished Service Cross. Cassidy shook head. File for improved protocols instead. He nodded. Already drafting. An MP approached, saluted. Sir, 2nd Infiltrator Group neutralized en route to fuel depot. Base secure. Relief exhaled from every chest. Dusk painted desert mauve when convoy rolled back through phase echo gates. Fires burnt out, sandbags stacked higher. Paratroopers lined roadway, cheering. Northcutt, crutch under arm, raised fist. Cassidy blushed, lowering visor to hide tears. Inside field hospital. Surgeons finally prepped OR. 15 hours after last attempted surgery, Cassidy lay on gurney under fluorescence. Anesthetist placed mask. Scent of plastic and hope flowed. Just before consciousness blurred, she saw Patel enter OR lounge, holding envelope. Their eyes met. Patel mouthed, "More to do." Cassidy's last thought was not of pain or metals, but of horizon where storms bred miracles. Morphine dreams blurred into beep-stitched wakefulness. Night again, tent quiet. She shifted leg encased in external fixator, ribs wrapped. Foredrip cool, under skin. A shadow sat by cot Morales, reading dog-eared paperback by red flashlight. He looked up, smiled. "Welcome back, Cargo Queen." She croaked. "Status? Sensor Core secure at Nellis. Contractors in custody, sang funded by rogue ex-general. Patel gone to D.C. with intel." Cassidy frowned. "Gone?" "Left note." He handed folded paper. Inside, Patel's handwriting. Asterisk debriefing committee wants you stateside once cleared. We uncovered deeper breach. Keep fighting. P. Asterisk Cassidy's pulse quickened. Breach extends higher. Looks that way, Morales confirmed. Outside, thunder rumbled, distant monsoon storm forming. She closed eyes, senses knitting new mission threads. An orderly entered with wheelchair. "Colonel Braxton's orders. Take you to command briefing. At 08 tomorrow. 8 hours to heal," she muttered. Morales laughed. "Plenty for you." He left. Cassidy watched tense shadows dance, each flicker shaping into faces of men saved, storms conquered, enemies unseen. She felt fear coil, but courage coiled tighter. Footsteps approached softly. Northcutt peeked, carrying small box. "Made this," he whispered, opening lid. Inside lay crude wooden plaque. "Cargo Queen slow is smooth." Tears threatened. She tapped plaque. "First commandment," she said. He smiled shyly, exited. Cassidy lay back, thunder rolling nearer. Audience prompt echoed in mind. Asterisk drop a. "If you know storms reveal true pilots." Asterisk, she smiled. Then the lights cut. Whole camp plunged into darkness. "Generators?" She listened, silence. A hiss of radios died. An explosion thudded distant north perimeter. Glassware rattled. Alarms failed to sound. She ripped IV out, swung leg over cot, ignoring surgeon's oath. "I thought base secure," she whispered to darkness. Lightning flash silhouette at tent door. Figure clad in MP. Uniform but wrong boots. Cassidy reached for bedside, pistol missing. Bootsteps closed. Bootsteps closed. Cassidy Hawthorne's ears, still ringing from generator silence, tracked every crunch of gravel beyond the blackout dark tent. She couldn't see the intruder, but years behind a sniper scope had taught her to map threats by sound alone. 17 feet away, heavy and measured, a deliberate cadence rather than panicked. Combat boots? No rubberized soles. Wrong tread for military police. She slid along the cot edge, fingers brushing the cold metal tray where minutes ago her sidearm should have rested. Gone. Pain from her freshly pinned tibia stabbed as she shifted weight. Blood dripped from the 4 hole she'd yanked free. Oxygen. Smelled of canvas dust and antiseptic. She felt, more than saw, the faint luminescence of her wrist pad. Battery reserve 72%. Enough to light, but that would paint a target. The tent flap whispered inward. She held breath. Silhouette tall, shoulders broad, rifle low, paused. Lightning outside flickered, outlining a face half masked by balaclava. The imposter MP swept a tack light beam across empty cots. Then toward her corner, Cassidy inhaled slow. Steady, silent as survival. She gauged distance to stainless 4-pole leaning beside table. 3 feet. Her crutch lay longer but heavier. The imposter stepped closer, luminous wrist display revealing he carried suppressed P90. Rounds tumble fast. One burst would shred canvas and her. She needed misdirection. She flicked her fingers, tapping 4-line clamp. Tiny metallic click echoed. Like insect chirp. The imposter stopped, light swiveling, curious. She flipped clamp once more and slid left. The split second the beam followed the sound, Cassidy snatched the 4-pole and hurled it javelin style. Steel pole clanged against metal instrument stand. Behind intruder cacophony, designed to startle. He whipped around, barrel following. Cassidy lunged, sliding across the floor, grabbing his ankle. Her broken leg howled, but momentum toppled him backward. Suppressed rounds thudded harmlessly. Into ceiling. She drove elbow into his knee brace, plastic cracked and twisted rifle free. Pain fireworks burst behind her eyes. She rolled, shouldering the P90, flipped selector to semi. Stop. She hissed. Lightning revealed his eyes cold, calculating. He reached to belt, palm closing around flashbang. She fired once. Round tore through his wrist, grenade clattering. He screamed muffled curse. Boots thundered outside, real MPs reacting. Canvas ripped open, flood of tactical lights blinding. Cassidy lowered weapon. Friendlies. She croaked. MPs swarmed, zipties snapping around intruder, yanking him out. Generator sputtered back alive. Fluorescence blinked overhead. Cassidy sagged against cot, adrenaline armoring pain. The room snapped into crisp color. Blood smear, toppled. Drip stand, stethoscope dangling like white flag. She forced breath slow. Crisis survived, data gathered. 30 minutes later, command tent buzzed like a beehive split open. Colonel Braxton paced before projection screen running silent drone footage of infiltrators on base perimeter. Intelligence liaison Patel patched. Rib and all stood across from him, hashing overlapping threat arrows on digital map. In a wheelchair rigged with run-flat tires, Cassidy rolled in, morales pushing. Her new external fixator glinted. Braxton halted. Hawthorne, you should be sedated. Better drug, information. She motioned to projector. What's our window before next wave? Patel answered. Intercepted chatter off intruders comes indicates 0 + 1 hour extraction flight. They're coming for any surviving contractors and the decrypted sensor data. Morales frowned. Decrypted? Thought we recovered core. Patel. Tap tablet. We did partial. But logs show another fragment uploaded via burst satellite uplink 20 minutes ago from inside the base. Cassidy's pulse ticked faster. There's still a mole. Braxton nodded grimly. We narrow suspects to Combs tech shift. 3 individuals unaccounted during blackout. Cassidy rolled closer, zooming map. Extraction bird will land where? Old Salt Flat Strip 22 miles east, Patel said. Radar. Offline in that sector due to sabotage. Then we meet them. Cassidy's voice like whetstone on steel. Hostiles expect minimal resistance. They think base in chaos. We turn strip into trap. Braxton crossed arms. Your tibia has screws. Legs problem, mission's priority. She met his eyes until he looked away. Morales grinned proudly. Preparation cycloned across the compound. Engineering squad erected 2 mobile jammers disguised as weather. Stations onto flatbed trucks. Medical rigged blood plasma coolers for forward triage. Ordnance loaded thermite charges into matte black Humvees. Cassidy sat in open door of one, customizing a small quadcopter adding IR strobe and magnet seeker. To track encrypted data drives, Northcutt limped over with fresh bandages. You're going again? She nodded. Guard base perimeter. Contractors might snipe evac route. He saluted, eyes shining. Yes, ma'am, cargo queen. She almost smiled, then tossed him spare earpiece. Stay silent. Stay alive. Raindrops pelted again monsoon's second volley. Storms loved them. Convoy rolled at 0430 under blackout. 4 vehicles, 12 operators. Braxton in lead, Morales driving Cassidy's gun truck. Patel rode shotgun, laptop glowing code. The desert looked lunar, barrens broken by spike yucca and petrified lava domes. Lightning flashed far south, revealing ragged cloud towers. Cassidy rigged thigh brace to absorb Humvee shocks, jaw clenched against every pothole. She studied striker teams. Allen and Cho manned M240 on roof turret, eyes peeled. They'd trained under her father once legacy threads binding. Patel interrupted thoughts. Decryption burst indicates partial file, geospatial algorithm tied to paratrooper pattern recognition. Enemy could predict jump points months ahead, Cassidy exhaled. We stopped them tonight. At 0510, Salt Flat Strip emerged white chalk runway faded by decades, hangar skeleton eaten by rust. Thermal optics revealed 2 heat signatures near control shack. Morales killed engine half-mile out. Team dismounted, hoofed silent. Cassidy. Cursed leg, each crunch of gypsum crust. She used crutch in left hand, rifle sling right. Moon now behind clouds, world monochrome. Braxton hand signaled, split into pincer. Cassidy, Morales, Patel left flank. Allen squad right. They moved between sage tufts until 200 meters from shack. Cassidy launched quadcopter, HUD overlay on wrist. Drone beeped picked triple RFID tags allied crates. She magnified feed, black. Flight cases marked with NATO serials. Proof of theft, radio click, airframe inbound. Cassidy looked up dark silhouette twin-engine turboprop descending without lights. Noise camouflaged by thunder. Braxton whispered, hold until wheels down. Plane's tires squealed on salt. Engines reversed thrust. Rear ramp opened. Silhouettes hustled out contractors with duffels, one limping free foot her earlier victim. A taller figure followed civilian suit, tablet glowing. The mole. Patel's breath hitched. That's Systems Captain Rourke, our cum officer. Cassidy's gut chilled. Rourke's rank gave him access to everything. Contractors loaded crates. Rourke handed drive to Limp Man. Cassidy's drone IR-locked magnet seeker onto drive's RFID. She toggled attack mode. Drone dived, thunks into crate, magnetized. Limp Man shouted, swatting, but too late. Drone zipped skyward, drive clamped. Braxton roared, go! Lights flared on Humvees. Flood lamps bathed runway. M240 chattered, stitching tracer arcs. Contractors scrambled, returning suppressive fire. Cassidy hobbled forward, firing controlled bursts. Morales shielded her flank. Patel sprinted zigzag, SIG barking. Rourke ducked behind crate stacks, shouted into radio. Alpha, execute purge. From plane, tail gun erupted, rounds hammering ground. Allen's turret answered, ripping holes into fuselage. Engine wing spurted flame. Cassidy saw Rourke dash for cockpit stairs. She fired, missed foot by inches. He vanished inside. A contractor lobbed smoke. White cloud billowed. Another tossed stun grenade. Flashbang blinded Allen, turret silent. Plane ramp started closing. Rourke taking off partial load. Cassidy shouted, disable wing strut, but Allen blind. She looked at Morales. He nodded, yanked thermite stick from satchel, sprinted under smoke covering. Bullets zipped. Cassidy bit fear. He planted charge on starboard landing gear, lit fuse, dove out. Foosh. White-hot glare lit night. Gear melted, wing collapsed. Plane pitched sideways, propeller chewing salt. Ramp jammed half-shut dot, but engine still roared. Rourke gunned throttle, dragging crippled plane like wounded beast. Cassidy's drone still airborne with drive it circled. She keyed return. Signal jam. Rourke encrypt jamming dot. She snarled, toggled manual. But battery low. Patel yelled, I'm going after him, and bolted across runway toward planes. Side door. Cassidy limped to follow but collapsed, legs spasming. She watched in horror as Rourke threw ramp switch again. It lowered jerkily. He aimed pistol at Patel, who stood defiant 20 feet away. Thunder boomed overhead. Drop if you've stood between greed and betrayal. Cassidy whispered to no one. Rourke sneered, "Stay back, Priya. This data belongs to those who'll actually use it." Patel raised Sig. "Like you?" "Selling. Soldiers lives for Bitcoin?" He laughed. "For order," he fired. Patel dodged, bullet grazing arm. She flinched but held aim. Cassidy dragged herself forward on elbows, rifle trailing. Too far for clear shot. Morale still returning fire at contractors pinned behind crates. Drone battery warning chimed. 10%. She guided Kraft dive toward her. Jamming interfered. She rerouted frequency. Hopfather taught frequency tables. Drone stuttered, then obeyed, arrowing in. She straightened, nodding to MPs. "Take him." Lightning cracked east. New storm brewing. Patel joined, holding sealed drive. "We need to airlift this to Nellis within the hour." SOCOM bird inbound. Braxton spoke. Base sensors still down. Airdrop risk intercept. Cassidy scanned crippled turboprop. Wing destroyed but fuselage largely intact. She peered toward old desert highway winding down valley. "We drive it." Patel frowned. "In a gasoline truck?" "No, we convert ramp into flight deck for V-22 tiltrotor due at noon, meeting midpoint." Braxton raised brow. "Midpoint is over Badlands, no strip. Exactly air transfer." They stared until he grinned. "Rigger team can weld anchor hooks into fuselage." "Yes." Patel sighed, eyes awe-soft. "You never stop." Cassidy shrugged. "Mission isn't finished." 5 hours later, under broiling noon sun, they coaxed crippled plane's carcass onto makeshift tarmac near Mesa Edge. Inside, riggers bolted anchor plates. Loadmasters stretched winch cables through ramp ceiling. Cassidy oversaw from wheelchair. Pain dulled by meds, but clarity razor sharp. Drive secured inside triple Faraday cases strapped mid-bay. Braxton's voice crackled over radio. "Osprey inbound ETA-3. She glanced at Patel's strapping. "Harness across chest. Ready?" Patel nodded. "Always." Morales grinned from seat beside emergency release. "Droppa if flying junkyard parts makes your day." Osprey tiltrotor thundered overhead, rotors generating cyclonic dust. It hovered just beyond plane's open nose cargo door. Ramp to ramp kiss within 12 feet. Winch cables tossed. Loadmasters snagged. "Begin transfer." Cassidy commanded. Crates slid along rollers, suspended out to Osprey ramp. Mid-air handshake looked surreal, two wounded birds exchanging a golden egg. Drive crate passed across. Osprey crew chief secured load, flashed thumbs up, then missile streak, from canyon south. Smoke trail eviscerated sky, racing for Osprey. Someone shouted, "Stinger." The tiltrotor banked violent, crates jolting, cable snapped. Ospreys. Right engine erupted in flame. Chaos exploded. Cassidy's heart seized. She watched tiltrotor yaw, clipped by ground-launched missile. Pilot fought, rotors coughed. But altitude too low. The Osprey belly flopped onto salt flat, skidding 100 yards, showers of dust and sparks. A second missile arced toward the wrecked turboprop they stood in. Cassidy bellowed, "Brace!" Detonation blossomed outside, shockwave rocking fuselage. Rivets popped, ramp cables snapped. Metal screened floor pitched, fire licked doorway. Smoke choked. Morales dragged her wheelchair backward. Coughing, Patel activated fire suppression foam cannons hissed, but second engine fuel ignited through smoke. Cassidy saw silhouette. Lone contractor on ridge, shoulder launcher reloading. Her rifle lay. Too far. Morales raised M4. Fired burst miss. Contractor shouldered again. Cassidy's gaze snapped to drive crate, still in Osprey wreck flames advancing. If second missile hit fuel tanks, everything lost. She pivoted wheelchair, locking brakes. Cut cables, roll fuselage downhill as shield. She shouted. Morales glared, incredulous, but obeyed, slashing tether straps. Patel kicked wheel chocks. With a groan, plane fuselage lurched, sliding on salt crust toward Osprey, forming metal wall. Missile launched, whoosh. It struck waving salt. Dust, impact in fuselage tail section, exploding harmlessly behind shield. Shockwave flipped wheelchair, Cassidy crashing to deck, pain white out, but conscious. She crawled, dragging broken leg, flames everywhere. She reached crate, verified intact. She keyed radio, voice raw, drive safe, need medevac. No reply comes, fried. She looked around, Morales unconscious under beam. Patel trying to free. Him, Osprey crew staggering from wreck. Sniper on ridge chambering third missile. Cassidy felt nothing but icy resolve. She grabbed flare pistol from sling seat, loaded last white phosphorus. She heaved to hatch, used seat rail as rest. Ridge. Target 250 meters. Wind 15 knots cross. She exhaled, father's mantra, slow as smooth, trigger tug. Flare hissed, arcing pure hellfire. It struck ridge at shooter's feet, white blossom engulfed him. Scream echoed only once, silence, just crackle of burning aviation fuel. Cassidy. Collapsed, breathing embers. Smoke blackened sky. Desert sun disappeared behind pyro cloud. She heard Patel call her name, felt hands dragging, tasted blood metallic, darkness tunnel, visioned. She awakened inside medical evac Blackhawk. Oxygen mask strapped, monitor beeping. Rotor thumps soothed like lullaby. Patel sat opposite, arm slung, eyes red-rimmed but smiling. You did it, Patel said. Cassidy's voice rasped around mask. Drive? Secure at Sierra Vault. Braxton radioed, they mopped remnants. You saved the algorithm. Cassidy closed eyes, relief tidal. Blackhawk banked, revealing desert passing below like scroll telling tonight's story. She spotted canyon, where miracle jump began. Tears WELED. Patel touched her shoulder. Your dad would be proud. Cassidy turned head to window, watching sunrise bleed vermilion across horizon. Audience prompt nagged her weary brain, so she thought it silently. Drop up if dawn after battle feels like rebirth. She dozed. Hours later, she lay in pristine hospital ward at Nellis AFB, leg elevated in halo brace. News report flickered on wall. Asterisk breaking illegal private military outfit dismantled after daring counter-op. A photo of her, helmet off, wind-swept hair, captioned unknown hero. She sighed, prefers shadows. Door opened. Colonel Braxton, in service dress, accompanied by 3 brass generals, entered. Medals gleamed like constellations. Braxton spoke. Captain Hawthorne, Joint Chiefs convened emergency session. Your operation prevented catastrophic leak. They want you to brief Senate Armed Services Committee, she grimaced. Public circus detracts from lessons. A female general stepped forward. Then teach them. Your protocols will shape airborne. Safety doctrine. Cassidy's shoulders relaxed. Then I'll speak. General smiled. Furthermore, SOCOM requests you lead a specialized crisis response program codename Miracle Jump, full autonomy. Cassidy met Braxton's eyes. Pride shimmered. She looked back to General. Condition: my team joins Morales Patel. Alan Northcutt. General chuckled. Done. Patel stepped in from hall, winked. Cassidy exhaled, tension bleeding. Destiny pivoted. Outside window, C-130 roared skyward with new trainees, perhaps calling her cargo girl once. She smirked. Doctors entered to prep for follow-up surgery. Generals departed. Braxton lingered, handing small velvet box. Inside, polished silver wings with green enamel Master Loadmaster insignia. Earned at 20,000 feet. He said. She traced wings, whispered, "Thank you." He saluted, left. Nurse injected sedative, world softened. As eyelids fell, alarms somewhere down corridor blared briefly, then silenced. She wondered but floated. Her dreams returned to Stormover Canyon, but midway morphing into cargo bay again. But this time she stood at ramp in dress blues. 20 new jumpers saluting. She smiled. Then a whisper in Dreamfather's voice. "Mission's never over, kiddo." Eyes snapped open, sedative resisting. She sat up, knee screaming. Hallway outside, chaotic staff running. She caught phrase. Paratrooper transport down, 20 missing over Mojave. Heart hammered. She saw calendar, exactly 7 days since miracle jump. Déjà vu carved chill. Doctor tried to calm her. She gripped his collar. "Get me discharge papers." "Impossible, you need recovery." She swung legs off bed, ignoring agony. "They need a miracle jump navigator," he stuttered. She straightened, eyes blazing. "Prep aircraft." Sirens shrieked, glass shattered, and Cassidy Hawthorne leveraged her crutch like a spear as the imposter lunged through the ward doorway. The cold, open hook is less than or equal to 40 words. Asterisk bullets chewed the heart monitor before Cassidy even found her footing. But 20 missing paratroopers mattered more than her shattered bones. Asterisk. Pain blurred to background static the moment she kicked the rolling bed into the attacker, sending surgical instruments clattering. Morphine smoldered in her veins, but adrenaline incinerated its haze. The fake MP's suppressed carbine snagged in 4 stand. She seized the split second, hooking his elbow and slamming him into a medicine cabinet. Glass snowed. He grunted. Grappled, she head-butted his nose, wrenched the weapon away, and fired once. The slug obliterated the flickering corridor like darkness cocooned them both. Breach contained. She exhaled, heart sprinting. Outside, code red alarms morphed into fire evac klaxons. Hospital staff evacuated. Real security scrambled to find the sabotage point that downed Flight 41. The transport now scattered across Mojave Peaks. Cassidy snatched sterile gauze, wrapping her weeping leg incision. No time for sutures or proper dressings. Asterisk slow is smooth. Smooth is silent. Silent is survival. Asterisk but tonight demanded speed. She scavenged adrenaline ampule. One stab to thigh cut through opiate drag. She stripped the imposter's vest courier pouch inside. Emblazoned Argus Logistics. Files named Flight 41 Manifest. Inside were geotag overlays of the crash radius. She stuffed them into her duffel, slipped the imposter's keycard from lanyard. Morales's voice crackled faint via stolen comms. "Queen, do you copy?" "Perimeter." "Compromised again, North Guard Tower offline." "I'm mobile," she whispered, rifling supply closet for field boots that fit over brace. She found none settled for taped trainers. Bite of tile on fractured tibia seared. But mission screamed louder. Backstory thread via internal reflection. Every mission since childhood began with the same mental map. Terrain, threat, capability, contingency. Her parents drilled it. So deep that even morphine couldn't blunt its edge. Tonight the map read, terrain mountain crash zone amid lightning, scarred ridgelines. Threat remaining Argus contractors intent on seizing secret jump AI buried in para cargo. Computers. Capability. A woman on one leg, but with friends who jump off cliffs at her nod. Contingency. Use disaster site chaos as cover to counter-snatch black boxes before Argus. She limped through stairwell, bypassing jammed elevators. Each landing coughed smoke from electrical fires. At a dock, Morales skidded in an ambulance. Patel riding shotgun, 4 bag taped to her arm but eyes diamond sharp. "You're insane," Morales said, grin feral as he braked. "Get in." Patel tossed Cassidy a fresh battle belt. "Spare Glock, 3 mags." They roared toward flight. Line where an aging CH-47 Chinook fueled. Northcott manned the winch, legs still braced but spirit fire bright. Colonel Braxton leaned on Kane, flight jacket half-zipped. He recognized Cassidy's haunted stare immediately. "You fly, I brief," he said, handing her flight manifest. Crash site pings between Deadman Apex and Devil's Spine. Storm rolling back in static forecasts. Say 2 hours until microburst. Cassidy scanned coordinates. 20 paratroopers, plus 2 instructors, likely scattered in 3-mile radius. Argus already set drones to sweep wreckage. Their helo would beacon like lighthouse. She grabbed grease pencil, plotting spiral search over topographic overlay, inciting incident thrust into open. Ground crew loaded skid with rappel ropes and medical kits, a nod to the miracle jump protocol she'd pioneered last week. But this time, she wasn't the hidden expert. Everyone on board knew she was the only reason they'd survived before. Rotor wash pummeled them as they lifted. Merrills piloted, Braxton co-piloted, Northcott at hoist. Patel manned console intercepting. Argus chatter. Cassidy sat mid-bay, headset humming, rifle across lap. Desert swallowed the horizon, mountains spiking like serrated daggers. Night churned with thunderheads. The Chinook hurtled into blackness lit only by lightning flickers. Below, the ravine where Flight 41 had vanished lingered like a mouth ready to swallow rescue teams. Patel's voice fractured over intercom. Intercept shows Argus drone's grid mapping zone Charlie. Estimate they'll reach Black Box Beacon in 18 minutes. Copy, Cassidy answered. We drop before them. She ripped Velcro from the table, revealing Halo Sled Mark II modified with grab arm for heavy extraction. Her plan. She would jump first again, secure crash data pods, then call in hoist for survivors. Braxton objected. You're fresh out of surgery. She's proven her legs break the rules before. Morales shot back, banking low. Cassidy toggled internal mic. I ride the sled. Braxton commands air from hover. Morales, you hold exit vector. Thunder hammered fuselage. Chinook reached. Coordinates crash site, smeared in burning metal across Screefield. Parachutes dotted trees like ghosts. Cold wind screamed as ramp yawned. Cassidy's leg brace locked, but she strapped into sled nest. Northcott winked. Deja vu, Captain. She checked altimeter. 1,200 feet, AGL, low, turbulent. Crisis and reveal loomed. She might die, but 20 soldiers below had families. She counted down. 3, 2, lightning flash revealed Argus drone swarm inlet. 1, the sled dove jolting body, rain slapping exposed skin. Parafoil blossomed. She angled left, surfing downdraft, slicing through smoke column. Crash fuselage lay cracked, wings sheared. Fires flickered in oil pools. She landed hard, brace buckling into mud. Pain burned. She rolled free, cutting risers, scanning with NVG. The static spitting flight recorder beacon screamed somewhere forward. She jogged, stumbled, among wreckage until she found first survivor pinned under cargo. She levered debris with pry bar, whispering calm, tourniquet, administer morphine. Tag with IR-chem light for hoist. More screams. 3 paratroopers clustered behind shattered cockpit, soaked in avgas. She hustled, dragging them to safer rocks. So far, adrenaline outran agony. But she needed black box. Patel's voice cracked. Argus convoy cresting ridge northeast, ETA 6 minutes. Cassidy scoured fuselage tail, found avionics bay half buried. She wedged pry bar, popped panel, revealing 2 metallic recorders. She freed them, shoved into pack. Suddenly drone spotlight pinned her. Red-eyed UAV buzzed, broadcasting location. She dashed into ravine ravaged by fire runoff, bullets from ridge whining overhead. She reached unstable scree slope. Rock gave. She skid dozens of feet, smashing. Leg, screaming but refusing stop. Mid-story special message. This story took us a long time. If you like it, subscribe. Now back to the story. She clawed atop boulder. Lightning silhouetted 3 Argus shooters fanning out. She chambered. Rifle fired 3 shots, 2 hits, 1 dropped. Third found cover behind engine debris. Hoist were clattered overhead, Chinook hovering amid gale. Northcott lowered basket. Paratroopers she tagged earlier loaded first. Wind shear brutal blades almost clipping pines. Morale shouted overcome. Storm cell accelerating 5 minutes till microburst. Cassidy grit teeth, transmitted. Send ground cable, extract data first. Northcott obeyed. Cable hummed down. She clipped recorder crate. Cable yanked upward, but grapple jammed on limb. She cursed, inched along cable, rain slicking gloves, until she freed snag. Crate ascended. Argus shooter fired rocket up valley. Warhead clipped rear rotor fiberglass, but Chinook held. Braxton's voice barked, "We can't hover longer." More. Survivors still stranded. She counted 8 rescued, 12 missing. Argus now within 100 yards. Cassidy forced decision. Sacrifice self to save others. Familiar calculus. She radioed, "Retrieve pods and wounded." "I'll lead hostiles away." "No," Morales responded. "We're not leaving Queen behind." She muted channel, sighed, then limped toward canyon mouth, trailing reflective tape to bait Argus drones. She tossed flashbangs, fireworks of confusion. Contractors pursued. Sudden gust pummeled canyon storm's first punch. Dust spiraled. Lightning near struck fuselage. Igniting remaining fuel, explosion encompassed attackers. A ring of fire. Isolating Cassidy on ledge above floodplain. Rain unleashed. Waterfalls sheared off cliffs. Microburst born again. Another crash, this time Thunder's body slam-tripped Cassidy's footing. She slid to tree trunk, anchored in mud. Drone spotlight still pinned. She unslung last flare, red gooey guided fired into drone's belly. It spiraled, smashed Argus jeep below, but slope collapsed, landslide carving path downward. She rode tree like log chute, bracing ribcage. Ground vanished. She plunged into ravine awash in flash flood. Debris battering everywhere. Underwater. Darkness, sound muted. She clawed upward, lungs burning, surfaced grabbing twisted branch. Current dragged her toward waterfall drop. She locked brace against submerged boulder, but strap tore. Pain white hot dot above. Chinook's searchlight searched frantically. Improbable to hoist in torrent. She glimpsed harness line trailing. They tried, but water's wrath swatted cable aside. She remembered memory. Father teaching river fording asterisk work. With flow, not against. Asterisk she let branch pivot, steering sideways into eddy behind boulder. Current weakened. She kicked toward bank, dragging useless leg. Collapse onto gravel. She coughed water, vision star, spangled. Argus shooter still alive staggered above, pistol drawn. He approached, face war painted with soot. "End of line, cargo queen." He rasped. She raised hands, pretend surrender covertly. Unsnapping belt holster. Shooter smirked, raising pistol. Slow as smooth. She flung muddy rock at his eyes. Simultaneous drew Glock, double tapped. Shooter crumpled, sliding into flood. Exhaustion crushed her. Chinook thumped overhead, but buffeted by turbulence, couldn't hover. She keyed mic, voice wind, shredded. Land 50 meters south flat wash. She crawled, each pull yard of barbed agony. 40 meters felt eternal. She collapsed. Storm. Roared triumph. Suddenly headlights carved rain. Braxton's MRAP, plowing through water. Morales on turret, Novak medic inside. They skidded, doors flew open. Morales sprinted, scooped her up like sandbag, carrying the vehicle. Inside warmth. Medical lights, Northcott pressing gauze to reopened incision. Resolution and reflection. 3 hours later. At new forward operating base Delta, survivors huddled. Under tarps. Black boxes lay sealed in tamper-proof cases, encryption still intact. So came investigators cuffed remaining Argus mercs, helicoptering them to dark cells. Cassidy sat propped against sandbag wall, leg now immobilized in inflatable cast, ribs double-wrapped, rein tapered. Dawn teased blue along cloud edges. Braxton shuffled over, handing her thermos of coffee. "You keep finding ways to rewrite the manual," she sipped. "Manuals get brittle when they avoid storms." Patel joined, datapad gleaming. "Initial inspection. Jump AI safe. Senate wants live testimony tomorrow." Cassidy sighed. "Politicians again." She looked at rescued paratroopers laughing, bruised but breathing. That was testimony enough. Thunder rumbled, distant storm departing. She felt pulse slow for first time in days. She thought of father's words, missions never over. But maybe they evolved, like soldiers into teachers. A reporter among brass approached, camera crew in tow. Cassidy shook head. No interviews. She preferred silence, yet she addressed paratroopers gathering around. "Next time they call you cargo, remind them cargo saved the mission." Laughter rose, warm and alive. Northcott stepped forward with makeshift plaque number 2, Miracle Jump Champion. She took it, eyes glassy. Above, a new KISS 130 droned. Recruits waved. Cassidy smiled, pain ebbing as purpose filled. Morales nudged her shoulder. "Queen, you gonna train them?" She nodded. "After PT clears." He rolled eyes. "So an hour." She chuckled. Ribs protested but heart sang. Lightning flickered one last goodbye behind mountains. The desert breathed sunlight. They had bought another dawn. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.